Shawn, but some of it was kind of trash damage in that it was after a round was pretty much already decided. We saw a similar thing yesterday when they were playing on Ascent, I believe it was, when Shawn, or maybe it was even the day before, when Shawn hit a just ridiculous 4K, almost getting an ace after the round was already lost. Like, Shawn has just tremendous firepower, but I feel like sometimes Gen.G is still figuring out where to put him into their workflows so that he can maximize that potential. So we will move over to Ascent. Gen.G gonna have the Sova, the Cypher, Omen, Jett, Reyna composition, excuse me. Now Drone swapping away from Phoenix over to Breach. That's to be expected for TSM. But it looks like the rest of the team stays on their familiar agents. Hazed again playing as Cypher now, Cutler as Sova. So a little bit of a role swap there, and Subroza rounding things out as the Omen. Wardell feeling comfortable as the Jett. And it looks like we're going to see a B site execute here in just a moment. You've got MkaeL waiting around the corner. Probably going to see Jett go in first. There's the arrow coming out, and the shock dart does a boatload of damage, no pun intended. As they try to work their way into the site, they're going to have to deal with the players inside Boathouse. Currently, there's still one more. It's Guimon. He's got a leaping target, but it's toe shots that work out for Guimon. Ultimately bested by Wardell, but the damage was dealt. Great damage as well being dealt by Wardell as the dink shot comes through.
30 seconds
They've
left.
got site control, but they don't feel comfortable going for the spike plant just yet.
Well, they have sort of an advantage right now in terms of positioning, especially with two heavy hitters with Subroza and Wardell. It can still be doable. But through the smoke, unfortunately, player one gets the headshot onto Subroza. Now there's only 13 seconds left. He has to commit for a plant at this point. This is where they're gonna jump in. He gets a nice shot there onto huynh. Now there's 6 seconds. He's getting pushed by Shawn, and Shawn dispatches him, and Gen.G wins that round. And this is what it's going to change a little bit for TSM in terms of how they played maybe about 2 months ago, a month ago, versus now for First Strike, is as soon as you start leaving Haven and you start going into other maps, Drone is actually not playing a duelist anymore. He's going as a Breach. So he's going to be the initiator that's going to try to open up for his team, be more utility-based, but also having that firepower necessary to clutch when he runs out of utilities and has to be that last one coming in to get the kills. So he used the double flash, so he went probably shield and 2 flashes to allow his teammates to move in. But aside from that, Gen.G just did a very good job holding it back to Boathouse.
Well, this is what you expect to see when you've got a Sova on the B site. The early LMG pickup for MkaeL will result in some damage coming through the wall. There's the Owl drone about to go around the corner as well, but actually cancels it as the shock or the recon dart comes through. Shock dart's going to go down. MkaeL has to be careful. Decides to get back in the Boathouse so he can open fire with the Ares, and he's got targets on both sides. Not sure which one to favor. Ends up gunning down 2. Hazed comes in with a bit of a save towards the end, but with the amount of health left, it's unlikely we'll see much other than just a spike plant come in here. Subroza does have that LNG, and he's just spamming towards that dark cover. Got a little bit scary for the Jett, who is waiting beyond it. That's huynh. Gen.G playing this one patient, though. Not going in gung-ho, knowing that LNG is in play.
Well, unfortunately, one's going to fall the second fairly soon. The right click does not connect. Unfortunately for Hazed, that's like 3 of them, but that third bullet missing just gave enough HP for a huynh to stay alive, get that last kill, and also the defuse to come in. They're running around just to pick up the right weapons, too. So they'll probably... Oh, actually, we're going to wait for Cypher to make it all the way back to A, so he can pick up his trap wires, most likely. But at that point, though, the round is going to come in here for Gen.G. And I'm just laughing and chuckling a bit because TSM just loves doing those jumping bunny hops, right clicks to get into the site. We saw it from that pistol round when Cutler tried to make it into the site. This time, 2 of them on both opposite entrances into that Boathouse to clear up that area. And again, mission accomplished for their end for TSM to get that money in, to get that plan. Now they have full utilities and ARs across the board, while it's going to be a slightly lower buy for some of them that died here for Gen.G just to keep their money right into the next as well.
Early round, you can see the dark cover is going out. One of those being used on the boost spot. Kind of a combination smoke. Prevents someone from jumping up into that boost position, but also allows a leg shot as it's a bit of a one-way. Early on in the round, damage is dealt by TSM, and that'll see their Omen now watching from the sidelines. A disappointing start to the round for Gen.G. Drone Gonna go ahead and lay that fault line down over towards A, and there was quite a few players in that region in general. They've got a lot of their weight shifted over towards A currently, and even one more piece potentially moving into position. Sova now leaving the B site and going back towards mid, where you've already got Subroza up pretty far. It's all about timing here. Does Subroza get beat as that smoke comes through? Subroza even spams inside the smoke with his sixth sense, but not quite able to connect on MkaeL, who's just waiting around the corner with a lowly ghost. Right now, it's Subroza who's pivotal to this round's success. Even though they've managed to make it onto B and they'll get the spike plant out of this, he's got them in such a difficult position because he's
30
got them
seconds
kind of
left.
surrounded despite being one person.
Planted.
The players coming from Cat have to worry about him. The player coming from Spawn has to worry about him. Subroza has to puff his chest up and make himself big, but he doesn't do it in time. Cutler is there with at least a nice trade. And MkaeL is going to be looking to take things back in their favor, but it's a 2-on-4, and now just a 1-on-4. MkaeL swaps to the Phantom, but it won't be enough. TSM should take their first round.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for Gen.G at that point. At least MkaeL gets the first kill onto Wardell, trying to build up his ultimate points too. And as he gets killed, that's going to be it. So they don't save any weapons into the next round, but they have that money to work with to buy into the next for sure. But with that low buy that they had, they just got outsold by an owl drone that went towards long A, because you saw how MkaeL kind of cheated early from that B side over to A while that owl drone was going out and even spotted huynh at that point. So they were just trying to take control of that mid-side pizza, maybe eventually pinch back into the A side. That's the gamble that they thought that TSM was going to go into. But TSM walks into an open side at B. And all this was also thanks to the openings from Subroza at the mid-side. Getting that early kill, lurking still towards that B side, breaking open that door, and even hiding back in the corner where huynh did not expect for him to be. Was just him doing a great job on that work.
Great con dart goes out in mid, and spam from TSM does as well. Pours through that brick wall. There's no one on the other side to play catch with. Got Omen already up Cat. Wardell low on HP, shifting back towards long with the rest of the team. Some resources now starting to filter over towards A. Got Gimon starting to sneak his way towards heaven. Now the camera will be the first thing to spot them as they try to make their way around the corner. And there's the darts coming in on both sides. huynh, masked off currently. Wardell pops the ult. Does he go for that vertical play up and over the wall? There it is. There's the updraft. You can see him start that motion, looking for a player up in heaven, not quite going to spot them. There's the Hunter's Fury coming out. MkaeL drops hazed. Drone is in the entry, but traded out immediately by player one, who gets a bit of a lucky frag onto the next target. Leaping around on site, there's still one more present.
30 seconds left.
The shock dart's not going to be where it needs to be. It's now down to a 2-on-3, and TSM again with the disadvantage has watched it just evaporate. Player one finds 3 kills on the round as they walk right into the A site, and Gen.G remains stalwart on the defense.
Give it to player one how well he played that hold on the A side as the anchor Cypher. It's so hard to hold that site. You have to put the trap wires at the right place. Usually if you're just going to play regular rank, you put it at the entrance of the door, and that's pretty much it. But he's doing a great job to put it in different places where people are going to get tripped up walking towards the side, especially the one that he literally just placed right now. When you're trying to run across from the side into the door side to close that door, you kind of get trapped into that where you get wall banged, where PL1 can play from the back of the site. And holding that camera, putting up his cyber cages, he wasted so much time to allow his teammates to come through, but not only that, still able to get 2-3 kills of his own.
My eyes are down.
Gen.G looking to continue to control the scoreboard as TSM is working with suboptimal hardware. Got a Sheriff in play. You got some rifle work as well, but got Shawn holding Cat right now. His Reyna play has been so good in the past. The timing, oh, it almost backfires, but somehow able to escape. Uses the dismiss to get some distance from his targets. Cyber cage goes down. Shock dart lands right in player one's lap, so that'll put him down on 51 HP. Has to be careful now as his teammates are starting to fall around him. They lost their cat hold as Subroza picked off Shawn. Cutler is going to go down to player one with the Phantom, who's still in position. PL1 making himself big and mighty on that site, but not enough HP to survive the onslaught that came his direction. MkaeL. He's got the Odin.
30 seconds
drone
left.
Is there. Now Wardell wants to get that spike plant, get that guaranteed cash. The flash comes through. There's the flash and the peek, and oh, never mind. They make it look easy as MkaeL lines them up with the Odin. It'll be a 4th round on the scoreboard. No spike plant, so no bonus cash coming in there, but they've still got plenty to fall back on. Do they decide to drop the AWP to Wardell? No. Again, we talked about this in the last map. The AWP favorance on the attacking side has heavily declined since the more recent changes to both its mobility and its viability. So, not surprised to see less and less teams opt for an operator on the attack.
Just unfortunate for TSM trying to get into that site on that previous round. Even though they got control of the site, the spike was still at A main on the back of the drone, where that should have been his when he's the one that's trying to pop flash for his team. So unfortunate there, and I think at the same time though, Gen.G did a great job just to take control of the map right now. Like I said, usually you put this trap wire towards its mid side, and then you stack up on side and you work extremities. Well, they're using the Owl drone to get extremities instead towards that B side, and then a triple push towards A side, where they traded off 1-for-1. They're still battling towards this A main, where Shawn finally decides to fall back. And that's, like I said, how you want to play it. You get a kill, you fall back, and you try to recover. And then even you fall back towards mid, you punish Subroza as he's trying to walk and take control towards mid, and Wardell, though, is still taking the spot after Subroza and still trying to clear up the area for TSM, trying to get some map control towards the side to start.
Subroza read pretty well there by his counterpart, Guimon, on the other side. Numbers advantage again for Gen.G. We've seen this time and time again for them as the clock continues to tick down lower and lower. One of the things we've noticed throughout the open qualifiers is how slow
30 seconds
Ascent
left.
has been. A lot of these executes coming in just the final seconds of a round. They're going to be shifting over towards B. There's still 2 players present. Guimon is one of them. There's the push through. MkaeL with the Odin is exactly one. Just mass damage being poured out, and the spike carrier is left
10
behind.
seconds left.
Wardell was the only one to actually make it onto the site, and he'll catch a few shots through the wall to the skull. Guimon has a soft target to close things out. 5 rounds now on the defensive side for Gen.G, only losing 1 in that first full buy round in round number 3. But they've been in control since then. Another awkward buy coming in potentially for TSM. You can see the money's all over the place.
Bach, you've mentioned how slow Ascent has kind of been, especially on the attacker side too. But like I said, it's the reason why. The reason why is how Gen.G is playing it, or most of the teams are playing it out today too. Once you're trying to get some sort of control on extremities of maps, but then the action slows down, as the attacker, you still don't know where they're really stacking numbers or trying to get into the site because you fall back after that. There's no more map control. There's no more punishments that they could do. And huynh goes for a nice timing shot through the cloudburst and lands onto Wardell to kick things off. And that's where, for example, when Gen.G was playing super well here versus Sentinels yesterday, was because of these occasions where you have players that are starting to actually land their shots, and these aggressive peaks and these high-risk, high-reward plays are paying off for Gen.G.
Subroza, again, able to get control of mid. They've been comfortable allowing that. If you've watched the last couple of rounds, Gen.G plays mid very passively. That's what allows Subroza to get up into this position, but it feels like they're not able to do anything with it. And a large part of that is that TSM is often getting into that spot, but they've got a man disadvantage, 2-man disadvantage at times. There's the Hunter's Fury coming out from Cutler. He's looking to deliver some damage down range, does a bit. The ult gets popped from Subroza. Tried to use the Hunter's Fury as a masking utility. So with that ult going off, it's so loud you sometimes don't hear the port. But there's a port coming in for the defense. That'll allow the Omen to get into the back of sight in the boathouse. That's now Guimon backing up this B-side defense. It's down to just 2, and one of them, Subroza. He was so low on HP. His last teammate was Cutler, picked off simultaneously by huynh. Gen.G just continue to look good on the defense here on Ascent. Again, this is the pick of TSM. Haven was actually Gen.G's pick, and if this continues, we will be moving into that 3rd and final map, which would be Split, a map that didn't work out so well for TSM last night against Cloud9.
The idea also for Subroza with the ultimate that he did from the shadows at Pizza over to Heaven was also kind of like the Scylla fake too. You throw 2 ultimates, you're trying to throw off your opponents that you're trying to execute towards the A side, but since he cancels his ult or he gets it canceled, he breaks the door of Pizza and they pinch it to B. But unfortunately, MkaeL, or GMD, sorry, also had from the shadows on his side and was able to support into Boathouse. This round, though, it is going to be an eco for TSM as they're trying to work as a group with only having hazed lurking towards his B main. I don't know if it's going to be fruitful for them, as they do have actually Drone at least trying to work it out with Subroza. They could use him as the initiator to try to get this fight versus Shawn, but Shawn, with the amount of times that TSM has tried to push and take control of this catwalk, has been doing very well to deny them.
Shawn, the timing almost there with that spam, might be able to still find one. A refresh on the dark cover as Shawn starts to spam through, but his targets have actually already gone past and in towards the site they go. huynh starts getting spammed through the box, doesn't stand a chance. Scheme actually able to do a little bit of extra damage, but now Shawn is on damage control, trying to spin
30
it back
seconds
for
left.
his team, waiting
planted.
for the remaining two to get into position. It's a promising look for TSM that puts them in the driver's seat on this A site, and they've managed to scoop up a bit of hardware to work with as well. Shawn now shifting back towards short as his teammates get into position. The Al drone will be coming through. There's one right to their immediate right by the big tree. That's hazed. And just like that, it's all spun around. It's down to the breach. It's Drone with a great first shot onto PL1. What a 3K for Shawn neutralizes the 3K from Drone. It will be a 7th round from Gen.G. And the damage is water under the bridge as the money has already ballooned for Gen.G.
That's right. Losing those players doesn't really matter for them either. And despite them allowing TSM to get into a site and also getting a spike plan, it doesn't matter for them either. They're looking very strong when it comes down to ARs versus ARs anyways during the full gun rounds for Gen.G. They're looking super comfortable. And I liked how TSM that time, they're like, you know what, let's not try to go for the initiator push and try to fight against Shawn. They went safer, for the safer route rather. They put the dark cover towards the garden side, and then they pushed through the sliding door inside the A side instead to be able to get those entries. Some nice entries, by the way, from Drone.
Wardell again get that off. But it's huynh on the other side who draws blood first, tries to get away, but just not prepared for that close target. Subroza catches him off guard a bit. Shadow Step will allow Subroza to take out the window, and he actually decides to back off that play. Won't over-advance. The door was closed. They've got a bit of a split play going on right now as there's presence towards Cat and B. Neural Theft does come through, and that'll give away position. Shawn with the Leer trying to escape. Gonna Leer again just to guarantee a safe route away. Oh, almost clipped by Wardell, who was holding the line. But again, they've got control of A. They're just trying to figure out what they do here. This is a very awkward setup. The spike is across the map. Now, Subroza does pick off player one, and Wardell's found a pick as well. Again, this is just really awkward, but now the spike has made it over, and they've isolated these players. They had a one-on-one on B, but Shawn has shifted away, knowing that the spike is actually heading A. That gives Wardell an opportunity to flank, and that results in Shawn having to watch their backs, but they get around the bend just in time to dodge that, and Shawn is just waiting for Wardell on the other side. So it's a 2-on-3 retake. Very much winnable for Gen.G, but TSM has to make a mistake.
A big mistake on top of that, and Shawn at that point doesn't even want to pop up the Empress. So they know at this point they kind of want to go for it, but only halfway, not fully commit. That's what he do. He's looking for the third, and he gets it! They're going to be able to get this one on a 2 versus 3, make that even a 2 versus 4, and Gen.G turns it around. I can't believe that just happened. I thought they were just going to try to do econ damage. They didn't really do much. Like I said, Empress wasn't even popped, yet they still win it. What a round there for Gen.G. And I was going to say, like, TSM's execution on that side was actually perfect in their end too. After throwing that Neural Theft, they knew exactly where the 4 players were. So they tried to sell a fake with Subroza and Drone inside the site, and they still managed to get a kill on top of that. So as you force to rotate over, you had Wardell that was looking towards that B main to opt down anybody's trying to rotate, and he manages to get a kill on top of that. So they had options to go A and B, but since the spike was down towards mid, and then Cutler was going to pick it up, they decided to go for A. Technically, it still should have been their round, but somehow Shawn just came up.
Oh, hazed has to be careful. He's trying to dodge the bullets pouring through the wall from the Odin. Does connect it first. Rips his armor away. Puts it down on 11 armor, 81 HP. Hazed might be able to get the best of the Sova, who's waiting around the corner. The timing almost worked out for him. decides to use that Cyber Cage to sneak in towards Switch, and it's well played from hazed, but he's still got to be careful. That is an Omen on the other side of that wall, and we know how porous it can be. Door's gonna get shut, but it's Reyna to come through from spawn. Shawn, the savior of the previous round, to bring things back to a 4-on-4. Player one is trying to defend short, steps too far into the dark cover. There's a Hunter's Fury coming out as well, sending some electrical damage downrange. Damage was dealt there. Survival is guaranteed as it all falls down onto Wardell, who's got a Guardian now swapping over to the Vandal. And he's got the Spike as well. Now he's got time to now shift that attack over towards this other site. Has to deal with the tripwire and dodge the damage.
Left.
The door is shut as well. Literally everything possible standing in his way, including that Omen in spawn. But at least TSM will get a spike plant out of this.
Spike planted.
But Wardell is going to have to make some magic happen, and it's without his trusty op.
Wardell did Ninja Warrior basically to find him making it into the site, and on top of that, it's going to be a Sova dart. Thankfully, he looks for the cover and is able to not be detected by it, and now he gets the first frag on to win, but immediately traded out by MkaeL. How strong has MkaeL been with this Omen so far on these retakes, on these holds, on the B side? But Shawn is going to be the man of the hour on that previous round, the last 2 rounds actually for Gen.G. Look at him. He's at 14, 3, and 1. He's died 3 times so far in 10 rounds. And only having 1 assist shows how much damage he's been putting up for Gen.G. Like we said before here, Bug, he's the firepower necessary that was needed here for Gen.G to be back and compete at this top 5, top 4, even top 3 in these rankings.
Oh yeah, he's been a much welcomed presence for Gen.G, but MkaeL, you mentioned it. His Omen, it's not even just spam shots, it's quick flicks coming out from the LMG, not the type of play you expect to see. Double digits in the assists as well. He's gone for that double miss shot from huynh, allows them an opening on the snipe. There's a quick shot coming out from huynh. huynh gets redemption on the follow-up. Looking for another, but can't quite find it. You've got players pushing in close, the door's been shut, and now you've got the advance coming in from the drone, but it's all too late. MkaeL, of course, the last one to get involved in the action. Felt like everyone helped out in that round in the defense of that fast play coming towards that A site. 10-1. Gen.G is crushing TSM right now on the defense.
And even then, MkaeL has 10 assists too. So despite him getting 13 kills, he's got 10 assists to be able to help out players like Shawn and the rest of our teammates to hold up here on these retakes, or his B side rather, because that's where MkaeL is usually playing this site. So the amount of time he gets wall bangs at the beginning too, putting hazed down to low HP on a couple of rounds as well. Gen.G is really showing a very strong defensive performance. We'll see if they can continue it up on this second half, but we still have 1 more round to go here as Wardell popping everything that he can. On that previous round, it was a mixed blind that they had for TSM. Still, nothing comes out of fruition from their executions, and this time they're just hoping that Wardell could pop things up because he's got 2 players behind him. And there's that first attempt, but it's Shawn with the 180 with the first kill and dismisses it.
Great damage coming through that wall from the Guardian spam. Puts Shawn way lower than one would expect. Subroza sneaking closer and closer to the stairs. The Lear goes behind him, and that's what allows that to happen. He'll pass the Lear, and there's the ult being popped. Does he get there in time to cancel it? No, he allows it to happen.
Yeah,
brilliant play coming in from Subroza, as that's now a 3-piece on the round.
Spike planted.
And the closest shot at success we've seen for TSM in this second half since Shawn dashed apart the possibility of a second round just a few rounds ago. It's the 2-on-4. And they've got the spike planted on B.
Well, they have a lot of firepower there, but Neural Theft too, if they can get a kill early to figure out where the last 3 terrorists are should they get this kill. But a big Rolling Thunder comes out from Joan. That's going to hit huynh. That's also going to hit player 1, and they're just going to get dismantled. huynh back with the knives, and he's going to have to come up huge, but he does not. Fall short, and Drone takes the round to make it 10-2 for Gen.G. TSM, much favorite round, where they hope they can turn it over on the defender side.
That is the ultimate hope. You look at what's been going on in this first half as we take a look at the replays here in just a moment. I mean, it was a unbelievably strong first half coming out from Gen.G. There were opportunities there for TSM, but it was almost always dashed apart by Gen.G in the end. I mean, we saw chances to get just some spike plants for extra cash like in that previous round, didn't work out. But Shawn was kind of the killer for a lot of those close rounds where we saw post plant setup. We saw that massive 4K round towards the tail end of that first half when it should have been another round for TSM, but we'll see what happens here. It's a desperate pistol round scenario for TSM. They would really like to pick up the pistol. Otherwise, again, just like we saw for Gen.G, the margin of error in that first map being slim to none would be the same for TSM here on map number 2.
Yeah, and with Shawn getting picked off early, well, he spotted early from a recon dart, forces now Gen.G to fall back, but they're just trying to clear out areas. They're going to hear the drone coming through towards Garden, so that forces Cutler back from position, and they're actually going to try to move forward and capitalize on this. So eventually, we're going to split back into A, where there's only drone, the first point of contact, playing all the way up heaven. So they're playing for some sort of a retake as well for TSM.
Cutler spamming through the dark cover. There's
planted.
damage dealt currently to Cutler, and he's the lowest one on the battlefield, currently sitting below 50 HP. Getting that dangerous hue of red. Kills piling up for Gen.G, though, as MkaeL and Shawn try to make things a little bit easier for them. Drone brings it back to a 3-on-3. There's that potential follow-up for Drone, just can't quite make it happen. Subroza swings wide, spots Shawn, but there's
One
Elon
enemy
taking out
remaining.
his counterpart, and now it's all up
remaining.
to Drone, dropping into position. The fault line was right on the money. And here we go. The aftershock coming out. Is it going to be enough to move him? The position changes for huynh, but it's going to be so difficult for Drone to try and spot this out in time. Not much can be done. At that point, the clock was already too far gone anyway. Well played by Gen.G as they secure number 11. And that is disastrous for TSM. Curious to see if we're going to get a force buy here from them.
Just mechanically, you see how gifted these two players are, right? huynh versus Drone. Drone going for the aftershock, knowing that he has to flush out his opponents, so went for the wide swing, and also using a generator as cover just in case. But on the other end, for huynh, he was forced out of his position, but throws a cloudburst on the ground to actually get onto the other side unscathed and not even spammed. I think at that point, Drone was still trying to play not super, he was going to play a little bit more sneaky as he was trying to move into that smoke and get the kill later on. And if he shot earlier, well, his position would be given away. So in the end, though, it's still going to be huynh that holds that hell at the A side, makes it 11-2. So you have to pretty much at this point try to go for some sort of force buy for the defenders of TSM, and you are looking for a desperate move. You are looking to push out towards the catwalk, and then at the same time, this MkaeL, he sees the bullets with through a big flash that comes forward, and then finally we're getting the kills in from TSM with the classic on top of that as Gen.G is trying to retaliate. GMD stuck here at the mid side. Cypher cages up. He's hiding his own smoke, but hayes still gets the kill. Player one's going to be the last one to go. He makes it a 1 versus 1 at low HP, though hayes is going to be able to save it for TSM, but that was one pricey round for them to take.
Yikes. It's getting a little scary. It's getting a little chippy out there on the battlefield. Reminder again, TSM was down a heavy deficit last night when facing off against an opponent in Cloud9 that looked strong, but TSM was able to force back deep runs in a game, including their bind match that went into overtime before they were able to find success. Split, they lost after going down. I think you said it was 10-2. They ended up losing 13-11. So TSM is no stranger to the comeback, and they can certainly make it happen, and that was the first piece right there. Giving themselves at least a small amount of wiggle room should they make a mistake throughout this half. We'll see what happens now as we've got Gen.G working towards A. You've got Cutler around the corner with a Spectre. The dark cover will come in. The shock dart, depending on the timing, could do lethal damage. But they're going to start wandering past it. Spam's going to go out instead. Shock dart's going to come in after the fact. And now the rotate already in for TSM. They may lose site control for just a moment, but they're going to be playing towards the retake. It's a 5-on-5 retake on the A site.
Even a shock dart prevents anybody from pushing forward to hold that door. On that retake, they could actually just warp through and just run from both angles, and it works out. 3 of them to fall. We have the aftershock to come out too, and they're just getting wiped out. GMD is going to be the last one, only with the sheriff. And again, all they really wanted was to try to get a spike plant. At least a nice shot there onto Subroza. Holy flash, get behind Drone, but Drone turns over and gets the 180 Bulldog, and it's going to be another round coming in for TSM. 2 rounds in a row. Let's not write them off yet here for TSM. They have the money to work with, but they still, at this point, because they invested so much on that previous round, only have Bulldogs to work with, where Gen.G has the full ARs.
Gen.G has the rounds to fall back on, but TSM has the bankroll currently a little bit of extra cash in their piggy banks after the buy comes through. It's Bulldogs, so it's not exactly perfect. But bringing in what they brought in from the previous round means it's an extra way to save some cheddar. Gen.G grouped outside of A currently. Cypher, player 1, all the way up in mid in the cubby. There is a 3-player hold on A currently, but it's mostly focused towards short. You've got Cutler, Drone, and Subroza all playing short, with Cutler being the only one really focusing towards A. A Lear and an Aldrone come out first, and there's the dark cover, no surprise there. huynh will likely be the one to dash out, and there it is. They'll likely Paranoia as well off to the left at some point to guarantee access to the site being a little bit easier. Spike now just making its way on the site. Subroza has picked off one, but there's a trade coming out as Shawn chimes in as the Reyna, a dismiss peek. It'd be so infuriating as a player to be on the other side of that one as you watch that ghost-like figure disappear, and just like that, the odds disappearing for both teams, actually. It's come down now to a 2-on-2 as Shawn has done what Shawn does best. There's the rolling thunder coming through Drone to try and make the retake a bit easier, but they still got to deal with Shawn. He's already got 1 ace this series, make it 2! As Shawn has found another one, and this time it's going to be putting Gen.G on match number 12 as they try to force things to a 3rd map with an impressive performance here on Ascent.
Shawn just looks so good in this game right now. So when we mentioned him, he had, what, 3 deaths? Now he's at 7. So he's only died 7 times in 16 rounds and just putting up numbers after numbers and even doing his part, watching these flanks, getting these clutches, and a clutch he is to TSM so far.
Yes.
And TSM has to really find a way to adapt to this. Thankfully, because they won those 2 rounds, they could go for some weapons right now to just try to salvage the rounds and hopefully bring this into overtime. But Gen.G just looks so good. This is going to be one of those rounds where you're going to have to win. It's about to dash through and go above and try to see what's going to happen with that. So it starts off with the Hunter's Fury. He's going to get into the site right now, and hazed has to hold up huge.
hazed, trying to do what he can, but Gen.G just flies out and explodes on the site. The neural theft, giving them that remaining player position. Wardell, he's got a dart in his belly. The Aldrin flies past. Now the spike has still not made it down and touched pay dirt yet. And Wardell was feeling saucy. One of that spam shot on the spike planter, no less. There's a fault line coming in with the run, but it's looking like this one's over. And in fact, it is. Gen.G looks fantastic on Ascent as Gimon caps.